Ethan Carter came home from his business trip, pulled me into his arms, and leaned in for a kiss. I turned my head away instinctively. "Let's eat first." He froze, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. My heart skipped a beat, so even my subconscious still minded. While he was away, he'd taken his young assistant to the Minnesota ice castles and slept in the same bed as her, I think. I thought he was dirty now. We ate in silence, until a sigh cut through the quiet. I looked up. Ethan's face softened into that familiar indulgent smile, and he reached out to ruffle my hair. "Still mad? Mad I missed your birthday. But Lila, I have to work. I can't spend every second wrapped around you, can I?" I reached for my phone automatically, then snatched my hand back. My phone was full of screenshots from his assistant's Instagram stories. On my birthday, Ethan hadn't had time to text me happy birthday, but he'd taken his assistant to the ice castles that night. The apologetic birthday message he'd sent had come from the same king-size bed they were sharing. "Crush is lying right next to me. How am I supposed to sleep?" Don't get the wrong idea, there were no double rooms left, so we had to take a king. He's so chill, though, doesn't even worry I'll jump him. Not that I would. He said I'm the sweetest girl in the world. The words were drowned out by emojis. Shy, giddy, breathless. I could almost feel her excitement. It was the same way I'd felt back when I'd made up an excuse just to hold Ethan's hand. "What's wrong?" Ethan's gaze flicked to my phone. I snapped out of it, smiled, and shook my head. "Nothing." I set down my chopsticks and stood up, but before I could turn away, his voice dropped, low and sharp. "Layla." I looked back at him. Ethan rubbed his temples wearily. "Are you still upset about Mia Reed?" Mia. That was the assistant's name. Before I could speak, he continued, "Don't worry, she's not my assistant anymore." My eyes widened. Ethan stepped closer. He brushed a stray hair behind my ear, leaning down to murmur in my ear, "Anyone who makes my Lila unhappy doesn't get to be around me." His voice was soft, seductive. If I hadn't seen those Instagram stories, I would have drowned in it. Still not happy. Suddenly, a jewelry box appeared in front of me. Inside lay a diamond necklace, glittering and expensive. I already owned a dozen just like it. Ethan gave me one every time he messed up. This was the 5th one this year, all because of Mia. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. I was too tired to fake surprise, too tired to even give him a smile. "I don't like it," I said it flatly, watching his face crumple in shock. I left the living room and locked myself in my small study. I didn't come out for the rest of the night. Ethan didn't come looking for me. He'd always been like that. Aloof, untouchable, above it all. When I woke up the next morning, Ethan was already gone. On the dining table sat the breakfast he'd made and the necklace from yesterday. I didn't touch either. I packed my suitcase and headed for the door, only to run straight into Ethan and Mia as they walked in. "I came to apologize," Mia said, her eyes red and puffy. She bowed deeply at the waist. Her tone was humble, her posture submissive, but I could see the flicker of resentment hidden beneath it. Ethan stood coldly behind her, his eyes fixed on me. When I said nothing, Mia didn't dare straighten up. Ethan sked. "Enough already. It was just a stupid Instagram post from a silly girl. I made her delete it." That day, the client wanted to go. I got the tickets and took them. "You know I hate crowds." His explanation was lazy, defensive, as if he was certain I'd forgive him. But I wouldn't. "If you knew it would cause misunderstandings, why did you let her post it?" I asked. "Do the people who follow your Instagram know your crush is married? Why don't you post an explanation there?" Mia's head shot up. She looked frantically over her shoulder at Ethan. Ethan's frown deepened. "Layla, don't be unreasonable. She's just a kid. Where were you when your kid was making my life miserable?" I shot back, my throat burning. I'm so sorry," Mia babbled, bowing over and over, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't post any photos of Mr. Carter. No one would have known. I liked him in secret. I never meant for anyone to find out. I was just being stupid." Ethan finally had enough. He grabbed Mia's hand and pulled her close, patting her back gently. "It's okay. It's not your fault." His movements were too natural, Too automatic. For so many years, that's how he'd comforted me. Layla Bennett, you used to look at me just like that, didn't you? His voice was cold, each word a blow. Ethan stared at me, his eyes hard with warning. Then, seeing how pale I'd gone, his expression softened again. Fine. This ends here. No more drama. You've always been such a good girl. I looked up at him, and I almost laughed out loud at the sheer absurdity of it. Yes, I'd always been the good girl. So he'd found another good girl, and let her taunt me right in front of my face. Fine, I said. It ends here. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door. Ethan grabbed my arm roughly, his eyes locking onto the luggage. Where are you going? To the Minnesota ice castles, I said, fighting back tears. I'd waited 3 years for him to take me. Every year. I'd waited from early winter until spring, waited until he wasn't busy, only to find we'd missed the best time to go. I'm sorry, he said, guilt flashing in his eyes, but his whole face looked tired. I promise I'll take you next year, just like he'd said every year, and I'd always smiled and said, it's okay, we can go later, because I was the good girl. I didn't make a fuss. I just felt bad that he worked so hard, but now he'd gone with someone else. Next week, Ethan said quickly. I'll take you next week, I swear. But Mr. Carter, you have that conference next week, don't you? Mia cut in, then trailed off, glancing at me timidly. I'm sorry, I just remembered. It slipped out. Mr. Carter only went to the ice castles for work. Mrs. Carter, please don't be mad. He works so hard for you. You shouldn't stress him out like this. Mia kept talking, and my head started to pound. I wrenched my arm free from Ethan's grip and walked out. Fine. His voice followed me, lingering like a bad dream. Go by yourself. Clear your head. I'll pick you up when you get back. I didn't look back. I went straight to the airport, but as soon as I walked out of the terminal, a wall of a man stepped in front of me. You're Layla Bennett, right? I frowned, stepping back warily. He glanced at my huge suitcase, then looked over my shoulder. Alone. I'm Jake Morrison. I was Ethan's roommate in college. Here for vacation. I can show you around. I stood frozen. I recognized him, but I wanted nothing to do with anyone connected to Ethan. Jake saw I wasn't moving, tossed my suitcase into the trunk of his car, and came back. He was over a head taller than me, and his presence was overwhelming. Fight? He asked. I pressed my lips together and said nothing. It was more than a fight. I was done, but I wasn't ready to tell anyone yet. Okay, he said easily. Then think of me as your local tour guide. From this moment on. I don't know Ethan Carter. I couldn't help but laugh at his absurd but completely sincere words. He pushed his sunglasses down his nose and grinned. There we go. Can't have you moping around Minnesota. Now can we? For the first week, Ethan kept calling me. When I didn't answer, he stopped. I thought I'd be heartbroken, but I wasn't. There was something about the snow and ice that washed away the pain. And Jake was amazing. He had a way of pulling me out of my dark thoughts with just a few words. When I got back to Seattle, the first thing I did was take the divorce papers to Ethan's office. But I didn't see Ethan first. I saw Mia. Mr. Carter's in a meeting. He won't be back until this afternoon. My eyes fell on the insulated lunchbox in her hand. Mia quickly held it up. Mr. Carter hasn't been eating WL lately. I bring him lunch every day. Homemade. Healthy. Her tone was humble, but her face was smug. Someone from the admin office hurried over and stepped between us. I already called Mr. Carter. He said to wait for him in his office. As for you, Director Reed. Mr. Carter said he's having lunch with his wife today. You don't need to bring lunch anymore. Mia bit her lip and nodded slowly. Then she smiled at me. So you came to your senses. That's good. Mr. Carter always said you were such a good girl. That's why he stayed with you. You know, if you weren't so obedient. She took a slow step forward, until she was standing right next to me. He also said you have nothing. If you make a big scene, it'll only hurt you. Who's going to pay for all your expensive things if he doesn't? I turned to look at her and saw Ethan hurrying toward us. Layla. He walked quickly to my side and pulled me into his arms. positioning himself between me and Mia. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming? I would have picked you up from the airport. Come on. I made a reservation at your favorite restaurant." He took my hand. I stepped back and held out the divorce papers. "I didn't come here to eat, and clearly, someone else was waiting to have lunch with you," Ethan started to explain. Then his eyes locked onto the words divorce petition at the top of the page. He looked up at me, disbelieving. "What is this? What are you doing? Mia's not my assistant anymore, Layla. We're at the office. I've done everything I can to fix this." I knew he hadn't, but I didn't want to argue. I set the papers on the desk beside me. "Let me know if you want to change anything. I don't know how much you make. So you can handle the property division." Mia's voice drifted over from the side. "But Mr. Carter earned all that money himself. You didn't do anything. Why should you get any of it?" I stared at her, surprised. She wasn't just a good girl, she was completely ignorant. But before I could speak, Ethan cut in coldly. "This is between my wife and me. It has nothing to do with you. Who do you think you are, talking like that? Sounds like Director Reed has too much free time on her hands. Maybe you should find another job." He turned back to me, his eyes red. He stroked my hair gently and pressed a kiss to my forehead. "I know you're upset. It's okay. Yell at me, hit me. Just don't do this. There are people watching. How am I supposed to run this company if my own wife is making a scene?" "Layla, don't be silly. You can't live without me, can you?" He asked it so softly, so carefully. Once, I would have broken down crying and thrown myself into his arms. Now, I pushed him away. "I'm serious." I turned and walked into the elevator without looking back. As soon as the doors closed, I slid to the floor and sobbed. Leaving Ethan was the hardest thing I'd ever done. He'd been in my life for 16 years, more than half of it. When I was 13, my parents got divorced and neither of them wanted me. I was left with Grandma Bennett. Ethan was the boy next door. He'd just started college, and I was in 8th grade. One day after school, I stood staring at the rushing river, wondering if it would hurt. Ethan appeared out of nowhere and ruffled my hair. "Layla, you hungry? I bought cupcakes." He held out a strawberry cupcake to me, smiling brightly. The smell of sugar and strawberries made me step back from the edge. Later, when he found out my grandma was going to pull me out of school, he went to talk to her. "Middle school is mandatory. If she doesn't go, you could get in trouble with the law. I'll pay for everything. You don't have to give her a cent." My grandma didn't understand, but she didn't want trouble, so she agreed. "Fine, but I'm not feeding her." Ethan froze, then nodded grimly. That night, I heard Aunt Carter screaming at him through the fence. I thought it was over. I packed a small bag, ready to go find work. But the next morning, Ethan showed up at my door with a black eye and a split lip. He grinned, showing me his teeth. He took care of me for 10 years, through middle school, high school, even college. He kept sending me money. Even when I told him I had a part-time job and student loans, he'd just ruffle my hair and say, "I make good money, kid. Help me spend it." "Okay, I don't have a girlfriend to buy things for anyway." He was so gentle, so kind. I blushed every time he looked at me. I never told him my roommates thought he was my boyfriend. I didn't want to correct them. I fell in love with him slowly, then all at once. Then, in my sophomore year of college, there was a fire at the hotel where he was staying on a business trip. I begged the RA to let me out, then took the first train out in the middle of the night. By the time I got there, it was noon. The news said 2 men had died. I asked a firefighter, my voice shaking. And before he could answer, I broke down crying. "Layla." I turned around. Ethan was standing there, unhurt. His smile faded when he saw me. I threw myself into his arms. After that, I stuck to him like glue. His friends teased me. "What are you, his little wife?" I froze, glancing nervously at Ethan. He met my eyes, smiling lazily. "Yeah, she's my girl." Everyone went quiet. Ethan waved me over, and I hurried over and sat down right next to him. He ruffled my hair, just like always. "Be with me," he said. "Then you won't have to worry about me anymore, and I won't have to look for anyone else." I don't remember how long I cried. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. Jake was sitting next to my bed. I saw you outside Ethan's office, he said quietly. I was going to say hi. But you were crying so hard I didn't want to bother you. The doctor said you had respiratory alkalosis. You're going to be fine. He hesitated. Do you want me to call him? I shook my head. Just then, Jake's phone rang. It was Ethan. Where are you? Something came up at lunch. Let me buy you dinner tonight. Jake glanced at me. Can't. I'm busy. Ethan didn't push. Jake hung up and slipped his phone back into his pocket. I'll take you home when you're discharged. Where do you live? All my stuff was still at Ethan's. I'd planned to move it that afternoon. Or you can stay at my place, Jake offered. It's been empty for a while, but I'll have someone clean it. I always stay in hotels when I'm in Seattle anyway. I'll pay rent, I said quietly. I didn't want to owe him anything. Jake laughed. Sure, whatever you want. Ethan's an idiot. You know, I'll kick his ass for you later. We all helped raise you. For God's sake. I blinked. We. Jake's smile faded. Oh, right. He never told you. Told me what? I grabbed his arm. Jake sighed. It wasn't just Ethan. It was all four of us. My eyes widened. Ethan had never mentioned anyone else. We didn't do much, Jake said quickly. We just each put a little money from our part-time jobs every week. He told us about you, and we wanted to help. We didn't want you to feel like you owed us, so we let him be the one to give it to you. We thought we were so cool. Back then, we're raising a kid, we'd say. He laughed. But I couldn't. All these years, I'd thought it was just Ethan. All that money for middle school and high school. Thousands of dollars. Something inside me shattered. I started crying again. I'm sorry, I said. I never knew. I never thanked you. Jake looked panicked. He reached out, then pulled his hand back. It's nothing, really. We were young. We had energy. Honestly, we should be thanking you. One of our friends was really depressed back then. You gave us something to care about. And look at you now. You turned out amazing. It was worth it. I asked Jake to put me in touch with the others. I couldn't do much, but at least I could add them on social media and thank them properly. Jake agreed immediately and made a group chat. Ethan wasn't in it. I told you marrying her was a bad idea. That son of a bitch. I didn't even go to the wedding. Couldn't stand to watch it. Shut up, Tyler. Don't upset her. That was Tyler Brooks. He'd been typing before I even said hello. Jake explained why I was there. She's our little sister now. That's final, Tyler replied instantly. For real? You okay with that? Layla. Silence means yes. Hell yeah. I finally have a little sister. Layla, come to San Diego. I'll take you to the beach. Actually, I'll fly to Seattle tomorrow. Let me buy you dinner. Noah Hayes, the quiet one, typed. I'm in Seattle right now, but I'm out of town on business. I'll bring you a present when I get back. Oh, and my mom has always wanted a daughter. Would you mind if I introduced you? Tyler immediately replied. No way. My mom gets to meet her first. The chat blew up. I stared at my phone, stunned. I'd come to thank them. How did I end up with 3 older brothers? Jake scratched the back of his neck, looking amused. If Ethan hadn't been worried about putting pressure on you back when we graduated, they would have done this years ago. We're all only children. We've been dying for a little sister our whole lives. We planned to all meet for dinner. But first, I had to go back to Ethan's to get my things. Ethan was sitting on the couch when I walked in. I knew you'd come back, he said, his voice flat. Life outside isn't as easy as you think. He stood up and pulled me into his arms. I pushed him away immediately. It's fine, I said. Life outside is fine. If this hadn't happened, I never would have found out the truth. That he'd taken all the credit for something we'd all done. Jake had told me they'd kept sending money through high school. When I started college, Ethan had told them. She wants to do this on her own. She says thank you. I'd never said that. I would have loved to meet them, to thank them myself. But Ethan had lied, and he'd broken their hearts. I fired Mia, Ethan said, pulling me back to the present. He looked tired, defeated. I only helped her because she reminded me of you, the old you, quiet, obedient. Nothing happened between us. I swear, you're the only one I love. You know what it's like to be left out in the rain. Would you really take someone else's umbrella away? I stared at him. And I felt sick to my stomach. What about her reminds me of me? I asked. Ethan smiled, lost in memory. You were both so shy, so sweet. You'd do anything I asked. Don't you see? You've changed. Layla, you don't bring me lunch anymore. You work late on your stupid novels and your blog. You never have time for me. I wanted you to pay attention to me again. I put my hand on his chest, stopping him from coming closer. The thing that reminds you most of me is that she's in love with you, isn't it? Ethan looked away. Guilty. I told her I'd never leave you, he said, so you could just sit back and enjoy her attention, knowing she'd do anything for you, I said, my voice shaking. Ethan, you're such a hypocrite, you can't have it both ways. I walked past him and grabbed my suitcase. I'd only packed a few changes of clothes and my important documents. Everything else was his. Ethan watched me, his face cold. If you walk out that door, don't come back. I paused, but I didn't turn around. Layla Bennett, he yelled, furious. I've spoiled you rotten, haven't I? You think you're too good for me now. Who else is going to take care of you? Who else would have saved you? You think you'd be alive if it wasn't for me? I stopped. He was right. My life had been hard. If it wasn't for Ethan, I would have died when I was 13. That's why I'd loved him. Why I'd devoted my whole life to him. Even now, I didn't want to hurt him. Come back, he said, his voice softer now. Come back. And we'll pretend this never happened. I'll never talk to Mia again. I promise. I took a deep breath and turned to face him. I will always be grateful that you saved me, I said, but I've spent the last 10 years taking care of you. I think we're even. His eyes widened. What? Aren't we? I said. When you started your company, I quit my job to work for you. I did accounting, HR, everything. I worked until 2 in the morning every night. When the company took off, you told me to stay home and have kids, so I did. I cooked for you. I cleaned for you. I planned every minute of your life. You always said I was such a good girl, but I wasn't. Ethan, I was just too scared to say no to the man who'd saved my life. I took another deep breath. And it wasn't just you, was it? I walked out without looking back. That night, when I was having dinner with my 3 brothers, Ethan showed up with Mia on his arm. His eyes were wild with anger. He stared at all of us. So this is why you're suddenly so brave. He spat. Layla, how desperate are you? Are you planning to devote yourself to every single one of them out of gratitude? I'll pay you back every cent you gave her. Just leave her alone. Jake stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. He punched Ethan in the face. Ethan fought back, but Tyler and Noah jumped in immediately. I've been waiting to do that for years, Tyler yelled, punching him again. We were supposed to take care of her, like a sister, and you married her, and then you treated her like shit. You said you were saving her life. You said you'd never take advantage of her. You're a monster. They only stopped when Mia called security. I called the police. Mia screamed, crying. Ethan was on the floor, blood running from his nose. He looked up at me. Layla, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I was just angry. Mia told me you'd found someone else. I ignored him. I checked on Jake, Tyler, and Noah. They were all fine. It was a mutual fight. I told the security guard. Mia stared at me, horrified. It was 3 against 1. He's your husband. Ethan's face fell. He said nothing. When the police arrived, Ethan told them it was just a fight between old friends. Mia tried to say something, but he cut her off. I'm sorry for the trouble, he said. He left without another word, his shoulders hunched. Mia ran after him, trying to grab his arm. He shook her off so hard she fell. Mr. Carter, I twisted my ankle. He didn't even look back. The next day, a local courier delivered the signed divorce papers. Ethan called me. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. I said nothing. I never meant to lie to you about the money, he said, but when I saw how you looked at me, like I was your hero, I didn't want to share that. After college, I told them to stop sending money. I wanted to take care of you myself, but they wouldn't listen, so I lied. I'm sorry, Layla. Is there really no chance for us? I said. No, Even if none of this had happened, it was too late. My love for him had died slowly. Over years of neglect. You can't fake instinct. I thought he was dirty. He'd transferred 8 figures into my bank account. It was too much. You don't have to give me this much, I said. Ethan laughed bitterly. You built half this company. It's yours. The dividends will be deposited into your account every year. I only have one request. Don't sell your shares. Please. Let us have this one thing left. I agreed. I'd never planned to sell them anyway. The company was doing well. It would be a good investment. The divorce was finalized quickly. Jake, Tyler, and Noah all came to the courthouse with me. They stood behind me, staring daggers at Ethan, ready to beat him up again if he tried anything. Ethan smiled sadly. I'm sorry. Guys. Tyler snorted and looked away. Noah pushed his glasses up his nose. You should be. Jake frowned. It's not about the lie. It's about the fact that you hurt her. Ethan nodded, his eyes red. Can we go now? Tyler said impatiently. You're her ex-husband. Keep your distance. I smiled and turned to leave, surrounded by my brothers. Who would have thought that getting divorced would give me 3 older brothers? Later, I met their girlfriends and wives. They were all amazing, and they all said the same thing. So you're the little sister they've been talking about for years. I thought they were making it up. If any of them ever give you trouble, you tell me. I'll kick their asses. I even gained 3 sets of parents. They fought over who got to host me for Christmas. We finally agreed to rotate every year. But that first Christmas after the divorce, I got a call from my biological mother. Layla. Why haven't you called us in all these years? Her voice sounded so unfamiliar that it gave me goosebumps. It's Mom. Where are you? Are you coming home for Christmas? Your dad's here, and your grandma's getting old. You can't just abandon us. I heard you married Ethan Carter. He's so rich now. His parents live in a huge house. Layla, are you listening? I felt sick. Then I heard Grandma Bennett's voice in the background. I told you not to send her to school. Girls don't need an education. Look at her now. She doesn't care about us at all. Got married and didn't even send us any bride price. Waste of money. My mother sighed. She's not a waste. Her husband can give us everything we want. Layla, you'll take care of us, won't you? I shivered. I don't know who you are. I said, my mom died when I was 13. I haven't seen her since. Her voice turned shrill. You ungrateful little brat. You were 13, not 3. How could you forget your own mother? I couldn't take care of you back then. It's all your father's fault. My father cut in. My fault. You're the one who. I hung up and blocked their number. Jake's voice came from the doorway. Mom's asking what kind of Christmas cookies you want. She's going to the store tomorrow morning. Do you want to come? If you're too tired. That's okay. He stopped when he saw my face. Layla, what's wrong? He panicked and yelled down the hall. Mom, Chloe, Layla's crying. A second later, his mom and his girlfriend Chloe came running. What did you do to her? Mrs. Morrison said, smacking Jake on the arm. Did you walk in without knocking? Chloe said, hitting him again. I knocked. Jake protested, rubbing his arm. She didn't answer. I shook my head, wiping my tears. It's not his fault. I was watching a sad movie. Mrs. Morrison pulled me into a hug. Those directors are terrible. Making sad movies at Christmas. Don't cry, sweetie. It's okay. She held me tight, and I buried my face in her shoulder. This is what a mother's love feels like, I thought. I forced a smile. I had the best Christmas of my life that year. After Christmas, I went back to Seattle to take care of some things. That's when I found out my parents had sued Ethan. They said he groomed you when you were underage, Mia said, glaring at me. Even now, he won't tell them where you live. Layla, just leave him alone. I looked at her. You gave them my number, didn't you? You told them about the divorce. They'd been gone for 16 years. They'd both remarried and had new families. The only reason they'd come back was money. Mia hesitated, then nodded defiantly. Yes, I did. Why should you get to be happy? You have nothing. Why does everyone love you? Mr. Carter was going to choose me. If you hadn't divorced him, he would have. I never wanted to take your place. I just wanted to be with him. Why couldn't you just be a rich housewife and let me be his kept woman? I stood up. You didn't want to take my place. You just didn't dare. I walked out and called my lawyer. I told him if my parents didn't drop the lawsuit, I would sue them for child abandonment. They dropped the case immediately. They didn't want to go to jail. Ethan found me a few days later. Did Mia bother you again? He asked. I told her it was over. I found her a job in another state. She won't bother you anymore. I nodded. Thank you for not letting them win. I did it because it's the truth. I said. You never touched me when I was a kid. It was true. Ethan had never been inappropriate with me when I was underage. We barely saw each other. He was in college. I was in boarding school. I fell in love with him when I was in college. And he'd let me. He'd enjoyed my hero worship, my devotion. He'd even had other girlfriends back then. But when they broke up, he'd noticed me. I never saw Ethan again. His company grew bigger and bigger. The dividends I got every year were more than I could spend. Then, I met someone else. My 3 brothers and their wives interrogated him thoroughly. He had to meet all 3 sets of parents before they approved. We got married a year later. Shortly after our wedding, I ran into Mia. She was pregnant and holding a small child by the hand, Layla Bennett. She stared at my husband, then back at me. You're so lucky, she said, her voice bitter. Then she started crying. Do you know what Ethan did? He told my parents where I lived. They came and took me back to Ohio. They made me marry an idiot for $20,000 bride price. I escaped. But then I met this guy who cheated on me. Why do you get to be happy? Why not me? My husband pulled me away. Don't talk to her, he said. She's bitter and angry. I don't want her to hurt you. I didn't look back. When I was 40, I got a call from Ethan's lawyer. Mr. Carter passed away last week, he said. According to his will, you inherit half of his estate. He gave me a letter. I know my time is short, and I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I'm glad to hear you're doing well. If I could go back, I would never have let you fall in love with me. I would have let you be free. I'm sorry, I let you down. I was a coward. I loved being your hero. I loved that you needed me. I used that to keep you tied to me. I was selfish. I wanted you all to myself, and when I had you, I pushed you away again and again, just to make sure you'd come back. But no matter what, the 18-year-old Ethan who saved you would never forgive the 32-year-old Ethan who almost destroyed you. Please take the money. Don't refuse me this last thing. If there's a next life, I'll still save you. But this time, I'll tell you to see the world first, to choose your own path, to love whoever you want. I didn't refuse the money. I donated all of it to charity, to help girls who want to go to school but can't afford it. Ethan never knew that I made a lot of money from my books, or that I already sponsored 20 girls through school. I've been left out in the rain before, so I want to hold an umbrella for others.